In this episode of Highlight Sundays, we find out what Microsoft and Adobe has in common. Hello and welcome back to Highlight Sundays. It is the 19th week of 2013 and here are your highlights. As you would probably have heard of by now, Adobe is actually going to kill off all its Creative Suite products. So instead of paying a few $1,000s for Adobe Creative Suite's Master Collection, instead you pay a yearly subscription fee to essentially use the same programs. So yes, instead of owning Adobe software, what's happening now is you actually have to subscribe and pay a monthly fee. Clearly, a lot of people didn't take this news very well. If, however, you are actually brand new to the Adobe line of products and you're starting usage right now, you actually stand to save quite a lot. Because some calculations actually did go into this and the results was something along these lines. So if you actually went and bought the entire Creative Suite, which I believe is called Master Collection, the actual set of programs will run you about $2,400. However, a yearly subscription to the same set of programs will be $600. What this means is you need to use this set of programs for 4 years before, things even up. So this has both a good and a bad side. If things don't turn out right, users of these programs are going to start leaving. And of course, from Adobe's point of view, they don't want that to happen, I'm sure. As you've noticed, I essentially rambled without reference to any articles. But in fact, in the video description, I'm going to give you 2 articles which actually have sort of differing views on this issue. So you can check them both out. You can see essentially the 2 different viewpoints that are going around at the moment, and then decide for yourself which camp you belong to. Speaking of making bad design decisions, well, Microsoft has actually kind of admitted that perhaps Windows 8 wasn't the best idea in the world. This article from Gizmodo is entitled Financial Times, Microsoft pulls Windows 8's U-turn. Now, for those of you who are not aware, what Microsoft is doing with Windows 8 is they're actually going to release iterative upgrades. And these are actually going to be quite a frequent thing. And what this means is we are going to see quite a lot of updates for Windows 8. In fact, the first one is coming out pretty soon and it's called Windows Blue. Now, as mentioned by Microsoft, what they're aiming for in this upgrade is to actually reverse costs over key elements of its Windows 8 operating system. Which we kind of take it to mean that, well, they've realized that there are certain things they didn't do quite right and they want to backpedal. Not the worst idea in the world. I mean, I'll be happy to see, how they can actually improve on the whole Windows 8 thing. I, like most people, feel that I don't have an issue with moving forward. It's just that if you force desktop users to work in a touch-like environment, obviously things aren't going to go very well. Unfortunately, there aren't really, any more details to be released at this time, but it will be interesting to see what kind of direction they take with this. Moving away from bashing established companies, let us take a look at this article from Gizmodo. It is entitled 6 Beautiful Artifacts from the Dawn of Digital Typography. Those of you who dabble around with fonts a lot or play with typography, you'll probably appreciate this. You see, in this article, there are actually photos of a number of historical parts or components that were actually old-time tools used for creating typography, and it goes from things as complicated as a metal block with a whole lot of letters on top, to various film-based tools that actually allow a photography-style creation of type. So if you're interested to actually take a look at these few pieces of history, do feel free to check out the article in the video description. It was quite an intriguing article to me, so perhaps this could be a good learning experience. Now, for those of you who've been watching this show from the outset, you realize that my real intent of this show is not just to share news, even though that is how I've been using the show. Instead, what I also want to do is to actually share interesting things like web apps or programs that I find, which is why today I'm sharing with you this cool little web app called Twitalics. Let's say you're making an update on Twitter or Facebook. You realize that you don't really have any options to format your text. Essentially, what you're doing is plain text. So if you want bold or italics, you don't really have a choice. And here's where Twitalics comes into play. The way this works is you type in whatever text you want. You can then select bold, italics, or even some weird script fonts. And what the program will do is it will actually find Unicode symbols that kinda look like what you want. You will then be able to copy and paste that into Facebook or Twitter and have the text turn out in that particular way. Because of course what is posted is not exactly, the keys you type on your keyboard, but certain strange Unicode characters that look like the formatted text you want. Now the site itself admits that this isn't the best way to do things because computers that cannot display Unicode or don't have the correct font installed will obviously not see the effect. Similarly, mobile devices may struggle with this. So there is a little bit of trade-off, but if you want to do something fancy and weird, you can, I suppose. So yeah, for those of you who are interested, do check out the link in the video description. This app is called Twitalics. Now, that is essentially all the articles we have for you. However, I do have one more link, but there is a little bit of story behind this, so I will kind of merge this into my vlog section. A few weeks ago, I was contacted by YouTube user Frack, I hope I'm saying your name right, and he requested permission to actually use one of my older particle system things from Blender in one of his music videos. So of course I didn't have any problem with that and I told him to just go ahead and use it. Just a couple of days back, he has actually sent me another message saying the music video is done. I've seen it, it's a very interesting and compelling video. The concepts behind it are pretty abstract, but it is quite an interesting journey to go through. And seeing my work incorporated into that piece, of course, was pretty awesome. And because I liked that video, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to link you to the song right in the video description. It is a track entitled God the Sun by YouTube user Frack. So do check it out, do leave him all the nice positive comments. This is quite interesting because this made me realize that people like the particle system stuff and under certain situations can actually use it. That'll give me some pretty good ideas actually. But that's all there is for this episode of Highlight Sundays. If you have any comments, queries, or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Don't forget to follow the official Twitter account for this channel at twitter.com/0612tv. As always, I appreciate every like, favorite, and subscription you give me. But until next time, you're watching 0612TV.